Hey everybody, Tom Miller here from Leaders Building Leaders. And just want to spend a couple minutes with you talking about one of the most important things that a leader can ever do. And that's set expectations and have clear expectations and communicate those clear expectations. It reminds me of, thinking about expectations reminds me of the fish pan story. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but it's about a grandfather who decides one afternoon to take his grandson fishing on the local bank of the river. Either of them reeled in a big fish, the grandfather would measure it and he would shake his head no, and he would throw it back into the water. And he ended up actually only keeping, the smaller ones. And after a while, the grandson comes over confused and he asks his grandfather, how come you're only keeping the smaller fish and letting the larger ones go? And the grandpa says, well, those larger ones are too big for my frying pan. Grandpa, right? The boy cries, you don't need smaller fish. You need a bigger frying pan. And if you're familiar with the work that I do, I think you'll appreciate that, story, right? Because too many of us in school leadership are fishing for smaller results, right? We're not thinking big enough because sometimes we believe, right? We believe that we don't have the confidence or the capacity, right? The bigger frying pan to really handle those large outside of the box expectations. Now, if COVID has taught us anything, that your teachers, your staff is pretty resilient in terms of, being able to, in a sense, achieve the impossible, right, through expectations. But it's the size of our expectations that's going to determine what we keep and what we attract in our life. And as the year goes on and you become tired, right? And you're worn out. And sometimes we lessen our expectations. I remember one of my great, teammates from not only my, charter day school days, but here on Leaders Building Leaders, when he got a new, job as a principal, he's like, I'm gonna hold everybody to those high expectations and every single day. And I remember asking, at the end of the first year, how did it go? He goes, I made it to day 168. Just like enough was enough, and you just get tired. But remember, you get what you fight for. You get what you fight for. And I believe that an expectation is defined as believing, right, that something is going to happen, or believing that something should happen in a certain way. Now, however, any expectation not communicated is merely a thought. And I know that I have struggled throughout my career with communicating clear expectations. It's something that I have to work on every single day, not only as a business owner, but as a parent and as a spouse and as a consultant, and sometimes someone who's in a leadership position at a school on a short time basis, right? Sometimes I'll allow my faulty assumptions, right, to close that expectation gap. When I mean like, faulty assumptions, it's just that, people should just know what to do, right? Or they should know what I'm thinking, or they were in the meeting, or they got the memo, so they should just be able to follow that, right? Which has never ever led to great results. It's probably I always say it's the most dangerous leadership style is the assumptive leadership style. So the lack of clearly understood and communicated expectation is the number one issue that I see in broken relationships, poor performing teams, and the cause of most conflicts. And remember, right, you are the cause of your effects. So if you don't like the results that you're getting as a leader, right, or as an individual, you have to go back and look at the cause and ask yourself, what role do I have in this problem? And as a result of not looking within, right, you're going to go without, and the organization suffers, and people will quit, or or they'll work to the bottom line, whatever it might be. But people quit people; they don't quit organizations. So here are 7 steps, right, that you can adopt to communicate clear expectations. This is part of our Mastering Communication course, which I would really love for you to be a part of it. It's 90 days of communication lessons to really accelerate all aspects of your communication. And I'll make sure that there's a link here for you to be able to sign up for that. It's a very strong program at a very, very affordable rate of less than $20. And communication is the most important skill, right? When it comes to advancement as a professional, communication is it. So you should be working on your communication every single day, because we communicate every day. We should be looking to get better at. So let's look at those 7 steps that you can adopt to communicate clear expectations. The first one is to get clear yourself, right? Get clear yourself. Now, most things are crystal clear in your head, but if you can't clearly articulate them on paper, you are not ready to share them, right? So take 15 minutes, not type it out. Take 15 minutes at least every day and really write out, what is it that I want to see in my school, in my organization, in my life, right? I mean, it's a journaling activity. It's an authentic journaling activity. I mean, you're really, taking those thoughts and those visions that are in your mind, and you're getting them down on paper, right? Getting them down on paper. The second step is to decide where you need to set those expectations. So think about where the gaps exist in the organization that you lead, right? On our team and those actions. Okay. So think about where the gaps exist in the organization you lead, on your team, in those results that you're getting. Now, results leave clues, okay? So you've got to measure, right? Measure what matters and really have an understanding, okay? Because if you're not getting the results that you desire, it's probably because there's a miscommunication, a misexpectation, or lack of training in that area, right? So figure out where you're falling short and define what exactly needs to change. Now, if you're not sure, go observe or ask someone who leads an organization that's more successful than yours. It's really hard to have vision if you get to open your eyes. And this is one of the things I love about our principal consortium and our teacher leadership academy is we take teachers and principals to these high performing schools so they can walk the hallways and really feel the energy and the culture, and then they get a chance to ask the leadership teams of those schools, like, how do they do this? What was the step-by-step framework? Okay, so number 1 was to get clear yourself. Number 2 is decide where to set those expectations. Okay, where to set. Now, number 3 is understanding the why. Understand the why. So this is being able to provide others the context and the justification for the expectations is going to increase the employees, or all the employees' accountability for meeting those expectations. Helping people understand, see the bigger picture and how they're meeting that expectation helps them achieve, right, those smaller objectives towards the bigger goals, and it's going to accelerate their support, right? So this is one, understanding how my role takes me closer to the goal. What is it that I'm doing on a daily basis that helps our organization meet those goals and expectations at the end? Because I need to know that I'm a valuable part of this organization. The second aspect is really making sure that the individual has training in that area, that they're equipped to perform at those expectations, and that they're in their strength zone as well. And that's why I love our DISC personality profile, because on page 17, if you've taken it, it's got your strengths in leadership, and it really helps you identify where you're good and where you're not. And that's going to help you as a team, sit down, really, really look at your strengths in leadership and make sure that everybody is in a role that they can be, successful at. You got to release people from their weaknesses. I mean, you can't just have everybody do things because it's in their job description. You really need to make sure people are in a position of success. So we're going to get clear ourselves, decide where we need to set expectations, and understand the why. 4 is to meet with the employees to discuss the expectations. So this could be individual, small group, large group, right? But really, really discuss your expectations, visualize it if possible, help them understand where it came from, help them really see the picture of what it may be. I tell schools all the time, it's like, hey, on those work days leading up to the first day of school, practice transitioning kids down the hallway. have an understanding with your team of where are the blind spots that we need to be looking for, and making sure we've got adults where we need adults, and whatever it may be. But practice is going to take your organization to the next level, right? Because what I hear, I forget, right? When what I see, I can't remember, right? But what I do is really, really going to make the difference. So get clear yourself, decide where you need to set those expectations, understand the why, and meet with employees to discuss those expectations. Number 5 is to gain agreement and commitment. Gain agreement. I agree that these should be our expectations, and I commit to actually doing those. And so once you've documented the expectations, right, both you and the employees should reread them, ensure that you're on the same page, and commit. And I recommend that maybe you just sign off on it, right? This is our culture contract, or this is our expectations contract, or these are our agreed upon expectations as an organization. Okay, gain agreement and commitment. If you don't follow this step, there is no accountability. There is no accountability, because I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to do that. Okay, remember at the start of the year when we went through that piece, like, it has to be communicated over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right, next is inspect what you expect. And this is, right, you cannot lead from behind your desk. You cannot lead from behind your desk. So leading by walking around, checking in with your people to ensure that they understand and are following through with the agreed upon expectations. Okay. So this is just getting really insatiably curious. This is walking the halls. It's going into the classrooms. It's peeking over the shoulders of students to make sure that the work that's on their desk matches to the work that's on the board, or that they're actually getting the problems right, or that the objective aligns, right? It's about really checking out the little parts, the four corners and the four walls. If you've heard our lesson around that, it's a really, really what you envisioned that day from step 1, that getting clear yourself is actually happening. And if it's not happening, just ask a question. Say, hey, here's what we agreed to, but here's what I see happening. So help me understand. How come we're doing it this way, right? How come you chose that book, or how come you chose that way to transition your kids, or how come you're doing math now when we agreed that you would do reading? Whatever it is, you're just getting curious about the decision that your team member made, not getting angry about it. Learn. You got to seek to understand. And if you don't have our VRUOL feedback form, get it. I'll make sure I put that link in here. But we've got it's how we train, right? How we train for feedback. And V stands for vision. This is what I expected to see. R is reality. This is what actually happened. U is help me understand, right? O is opportunities. Oh, here's how you can do it better next time. And the L is leadership. It is about, hey, how could I have communicated that better for you to be able to do it more effectively? And that's a really important step as this, right? Because it closes that leadership gap, and it helps you better understand how you're being perceived as a leader. And again, I'll put that link in there to our trainings, and it's part of our series. It's also part of our mastering your communication course is a big part of that. And then the last step is to address little things immediately, right? So this is when you're inspecting what you expect. You see something that doesn't align to what your vision was, and you ask, right? Little things eventually become really big things. So remember, completing those first 3 steps is critical. So get clear yourself, decide where you need to set expectations, and understanding the why. That's where you're going to create accountability. And if you fail to follow that process, you're not going to be able to express your expectations clearly through this matter. Okay, again, here are the expectations that we agreed on, yet here's what I see, so help me understand. Okay. Now, when you have understanding and recommunicate those expectations again, you write them down, forward them back in an email, right, or a memo, or a counseling document, whatever you may have, because that way there's going to be no confusion later about the terms in which you and the employee agreed. It's a really, really, really critical part. So, If there's any areas which your organization is not meeting the goals, first identify what role that you particularly have in the problem. And because as leaders, we must strive to build clear expectations through our organizations, and it has to start with us. And the best time to start that, if you're part of our Todd Whitaker and What Great Principals Do Differently study, is at the beginning of the year, right? Really setting clear expectations in all aspects of your school. And in fact, I'm going to also drop this link in here. We have daily expectations for teachers around lesson plans, around virtual learning, around brick and mortar learning. You can take these checklists and modify them yourself, right? So you're going to go to our daily expectations checklist sheet, and I'll make sure that that's linked in here to the show notes and in the description. So go there and go ahead and opt in and grab them, because if you don't have a clear expectations form, you're going to want to start there. It's going to really help you get clear on that first part, right? And then just follow these 7 steps. Again, let me reiterate these steps. Get clear yourself, decide where you need to set expectations, understand the why, meet with employees to discuss those expectations, gain agreement and commitment, inspect what you expect, and address little things immediately. I hope this lesson added some value to you. And as always, please, subscribe, rate, and share wherever you're listening to this or watching this learning video. If you want to learn more about what we do, first is what I'm going to say is grab these free resources that I put here, linked for you in the description, or go to our webpage at lbleaders.com, lbleaders.com. My name's Tom Miller, and it's my goal every single day to wake up to be the difference maker in the leadership development of individuals and organizations. I really hope that this lesson added value to you so you can set clear expectations in your organization or with your team. Again, wherever you're listening, please subscribe, rate, and share if you feel that this lesson would help someone else in the school leadership community. Keep on making a difference, everybody. Thanks again.